What's up, my vault dwellers? Dan here from Retro Vault. You know, from body snatchers to space vampires, from creatures from beyond and teenagers from outer space, these are the films that defined how we think about visitors from the stars, for better or for worse. And today, we're going to be counting down 13 of the most insane alien invasion B-movies. By the way, this is my personal list. So, if I've ranked your favorite alien invasion flick a little too low, just remember, that's like, my opinion, man. But you can talk about it in the comments if you have to. Alright, let's blast off.
What do you make of this?
She can't see us. She can't hear us.
Doris!
Something to do with that thing out there.
No, that's absurd. I tell you, that's absurd.
Alright, let's get this party started with The Devil Girl from Mars in 1954. And this British sci-fi oddity features a leather-clad alien woman who arrives in Scotland looking for men to repopulate her female-dominated planet. Because, nothing says prime breeding stock like Scottish pub patrons. The Devil Girl, named Naya, she travels in a flying saucer that looks like a Christmas ornament and has a robot servant that resembles a refrigerator with accordion arms. It's like someone took the day the Earth stood still and added more dominatrix energy. You know what makes this film so special? It's Patricia's performance as Naya. She's just strutting around in her leather cape and miniskirt, and she delivers lines like,
"Now, Earthmen, look. What's the power of another world?"
with such conviction, you almost believe her. The film plays like a drawing room drama that occasionally remembers it's about an alien invasion, with most of the action taking place in a single pub. The special effects consist mainly of stock footage, miniatures that look like toys, and a robot that moves like it's being operated by a very tired puppeteer. Yet there's just something so endearingly sincere about it all, especially when Naya demonstrates her paralysis ray by pointing dramatically at furniture. Teenagers from Outer Space was made for approximately $14,000 by director Tom Graff, who also wrote, edited, and starred in it. This film follows an alien teenager, Derek, who rebels against his species' plan to use Earth as a breeding ground for giant lobsters called gargons. Yes, giant space lobsters. Derek falls in love with an Earth girl, while his ruthless alien colleague, Thor, hunts him down, disintegrating anyone who gets in his way with a ray gun that turns people into instant skeletons. It's like Rebel Without a Cause if James Dean was an alien concerned about lobster farming. The charm of Teenagers from Outer Space lies in its earnest ambition despite severe budget limitations. And the ray gun effects, they were created by scratching the film's negative directly. And that spaceship, it's obviously a car hubcap just dangling from a string. Yet the director treats the material with utter sincerity, especially in Derek's wide-eyed discovery of human emotions like love and compassion. The film reached a wider audience when Mystery Science Theater 3000 featured it, but even without the riffing, it's a perfect example of how creativity and enthusiasm can sometimes overcome a budget that wouldn't cover a modern film's catering bill.
I wonder where we are.
Uh-oh. Hey, Dayton, we got company.
In this lunar adventure, Missile to the Moon, escaped convicts are forced to join a rocket mission to the moon, where they discover a civilization of beautiful women ruled by a queen who looks like she raided a Vegas showgirl's closet. Also hanging around, a blind psychic named Lido, rock monsters that move like they're taking a slow stroll through the park, and a giant spider that has one of the most wide-eyed, shocked expressions in creature feature history. You know, it's like someone watched Abbott and Costello go to Mars and thought, let's make that, but with less budget and more awkward pauses. What makes The Missile to the Moon so gloriously bad? It's how it recycles every space movie cliche while adding bizarre touches of its own. The Moon Women's Society is dying because they have no men, which is apparently a problem even for advanced lunar civilization. The Rockmen look like they were wearing papier-mâché costumes that might disintegrate if they move just a little too quickly. And the film features what might be the least convincing space travel sequence ever filmed, with actors just kind of swaying while stock footage plays behind them. Yet there's something hypnotic about its clumsy ambition, especially when the Moon Queen, she delivers her dramatic proclamations while wearing what appears to be a lampshade on her head. Zontar, the Thing from Venus, is a ultra-low-budget remake of It Conquered the World and was directed by Larry Buchanan for AIP Television. And it shows. Zontar, a self-proclaimed savior from Venus, manipulates a scientist into helping him invade Earth with mind-control devices that look suspiciously like refrigerator magnets. The alien itself appears to be a giant bat mixed with another lobster. The magic of Zontar lies in its complete failure to create any tension or believable effects while maintaining absolute sincerity. The alien's mind control devices are just literally little plastic injectors with wings attached. And most of the action consists of people standing around talking about Zontar rather than showing him. Yet John Agar, a veteran of actually good sci-fi films, delivers his lines with the commitment of a man who thinks he's in a much better movie.
All right, Keith, so you got a little friend on Venus. What does he want from us? Has he got a name?
The climactic confrontation with Zontar involves characters essentially walking up to the monster and having a conversation with it, which is either the most anticlimactic alien invasion in cinema history or a bold artistic choice, just depending on how charitable you're feeling at the moment. The Earth Dies Screaming is a British sci-fi horror which begins with people mysteriously dropping dead all over England. The survivors soon discover the cause: robot-like aliens with a fish tank over a hot dog head who are roaming the countryside, and their touch turns people into ex-people. Despite the apocalyptic title, the film mostly consists of survivors bickering in a hotel lobby, occasionally looking out the window to see robots walking very, very slowly down the street. It's like The Walking Dead, but if the zombies had eaten too many Costco hot dogs and just killed people with too much sodium and saturated fats. You know, what makes The Earth Dies Screaming interesting is how it pioneers this small group of survivors during an apocalypse formula that would become a staple of the genre. Director Fisher, known for his Hammer horror films, brings a moody atmosphere to the proceedings despite his minimal budget. The robots themselves are both ridiculous and oddly creepy, men in silver suits with whiteout eyes who move with mechanical precision. There's something genuinely unsettling about their emotionless advances, even if they do move at a pace that would allow most people to escape them by simply just walking briskly away.
Maybe you've guessed, but I've never been on a honeymoon before.
Neither have I.
Is that why you sound so strange to me?
I Married a Monster from Outer Space, which follows a woman who realizes her new husband has been replaced by an alien imposter. All the men in town are just gradually being taken over, leaving the women to wonder why their husbands have suddenly developed strange new habits, like not showing emotions, avoiding doctors, and staring intensely at electrical storms. Although I do question that these are actual new issues. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers meets relationship counseling. What elevates I Married a Monster is how it uses sci-fi premise as a metaphor for that fear that you never really know the person you're married to. Gloria Talbot gives a genuinely affecting performance as Marge, a woman who realizes the man she loves, he's literally not the same person anymore. This film has this wonderful 1950s paranoia, suggesting that if your husband starts acting differently, he might literally be from another planet. The alien's true form, shown only in reflections or shadows for most of the film, are effectively creepy despite the obvious budget constraints. There's a surprisingly pro-female message for a 1958 film, as the women are the ones who ultimately figure everything out, while the men are either aliens or just a little bit too stubborn to listen.
What was that?
I don't know. It happened so fast.
Invasion of the Saucermen is a teen-focused alien invasion flick, which features possibly the most iconic B-movie aliens ever designed. Little green men with oversized brains, huge bulging eyes, and hands that can detach and crawl around on their own. When a flying saucer lands near Lover's Lane, the local teenagers try to warn the town, but naturally, no one believes them. You know, it's just like American Graffiti if the drag race was against aliens with a fondness for autonomous body parts. What makes Invasion of the Saucermen so memorable, it's the alien design. These little green men have become the template for how we imagine cheesy movie aliens. Oversized heads, bulging eyes, wrinkly green skin. This film has a surprisingly playful tone though, with the aliens' detachable hands creating some genuinely creative sequences. It's kind of weird, creative touch that elevates a film beyond its drive-in origins. Plus, the movie taps into 1950s concerns about juvenile delinquency, which is simultaneously making the teenagers the heroes, creating an interesting tension that makes it way smarter than many of its contemporaries. Ah yes, Flesh Gordon, which is an adult parody of Flash Gordon and follows our hero, Flesh, as he battles Emperor Wang, the Perverted, who's attacking Earth with a sex ray from the planet Porno. Along with Dale Arter and Dr. Flexi Jerkoff, Flesh must travel to Porno and defeat Wang's evil forces, including a monster called, wait for it, the Penisaurus. Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. It's like Star Wars if George Lucas had spent his college years watching nothing but adult films. Despite the obvious adult content, Flesh Gordon features surprisingly good special effects for its budget. I mean, the stop-motion creatures, particularly the Penisaurus, are impressively animated, and the spaceship models, I mean, they wouldn't look out of place in a serious sci-fi film of the era. The film walks a fine line between parody and adult content, with enough genuine humor and creative sci-fi elements to elevate it above being just merely exploitive. It also features some legitimately talented people behind the scenes. Future Hollywood effects wizards Rick Baker and Dennis Muren worked on the film early in their careers. There's something almost charming about how it combines juvenile humor with genuine creativity, making it a unique entry in both sci-fi and adult cinema.
What are you gonna do? Knock my block off?
Man, I love Killer Klowns from Outer Space. So this is a circus-themed alien movie that provides us demented clowns who arrive on Earth in a spaceship shaped like a big top tent. And they wrap people in cotton candy cocoons, they use ray guns that turn victims into popcorn, and they drink human blood through crazy straws. This movie is exactly as insane as it sounds, and I mean that as the highest compliment possible. It's like someone who had a traumatic experience at a circus as a child and decided to process it by making a movie about it. The alien designs are simultaneously hilarious and horrifying. I mean, they're taking the inherent creepiness of clowns and just ratcheting it up with sharp teeth, bizarre proportions, and these unsettling grins. This film commits fully to its circus carnival aesthetics, with deaths involving shadow puppets and balloon animals and cotton candy guns. Despite the silly premise, the practical effects are just genuinely impressive, with the clowns' animatronic faces allowing for a range of disturbing expressions. You know, it's one of those rare films that perfectly executes its bizarre concept, creating something that's both a loving homage to B-movie traditions and a wholly original version. Plus, it features what might be cinema's only death scene involving a killer puppet show, which also earns its place in B-movie Hall of Fame. It, The Terror from Beyond Space, is a lean, mean, sci-fi thriller which follows the crew of a rescue mission to Mars who unknowingly bring aboard an alien creature that begins picking them off one by one. It might sound a little bit familiar, and that's because it's widely acknowledged as a major inspiration for the breakout movie Alien. The creature, played by actor Ray Crash Corrigan, he's in a rubber suit and stalks the spaceship's air ducts and proves nearly impossible to kill. It's like Alien if Ridley Scott had about 1% of the budget and everyone wore 1950s style space pajamas. What makes it, The Terror from Beyond Space, hold up is its tight pacing and genuine suspense. Director Edward L. Kahn creates a claustrophobic atmosphere aboard the spaceship, with the crew forced to retreat to higher levels as the creature advances. The alien design, it's clearly a man in a suit. It's kept in the shadows for most of the film, making it more effective than many of its contemporary monster movies. There's a fantastic scene where they try to gas the creature, only to discover it doesn't even need oxygen to survive. A clever twist that heightens the tension. The film's influence on Alien is undeniable, from the basic premise to specific scenes, proving that a good idea executed well can transcend budget limitations. It remains one of the most effective sci-fi horror films of the 1950s, delivering genuine thrills despite its B-movie constraints.
Hey, Jackson, where did you go?
Invaders from Mars, a colored sci-fi nightmare which follows a young boy who witnesses a flying saucer that lands behind his house. Soon, his parents and other townsfolk, they start behaving strangely, with mysterious scars on the backs of their necks indicating that they've been taken over by the Martians. The boy tries to convince adults of the invasion, but naturally no one believes him. You know, it's just like an episode of Stranger Things, but made 35 years earlier and with effects that would make the Duffer Brothers cry with laughter. William Cameron Menzies, a legendary production designer, directed this film with a dreamlike, child's eye perspective that makes it uniquely disturbing. The Martian sand pits, which swallow people up to be mind-controlled, are simple but effective visual threats. The alien leader, a green head in a glass bubble with tentacle-like appendages, remains one of the most bizarre alien designs in cinema. What makes the film special is how it taps into the childhood fear that adults even your parents, might not be who they appear to be. The ending, which I won't spoil here, adds another layer to the psychological horror, cementing this as not just a great B-movie, but a genuinely effective sci-fi thrill that still influences filmmakers today.
Would you be able to forget that you're a doctor for a while?
Why?
I don't want you to call the police right away.
Quit acting like a writer. What's going on?
Maybe you can tell me. You're the doctor.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, a Cold War classic, features a small-town doctor, Miles Bennell, who starts seeing patients who insist their loved ones have been replaced by imposters, but they look exactly like them. So, initially skeptical, Miles soon discovers giant seed pods that create perfect physical duplicates of people while they sleep, replacing them with emotionless conformists. It's like a horrifying version of The Parent Trap, where the duplicates want to take over the world instead of reuniting with their parents. Director Don Siegel turned what could have been a standard B-movie into something genuinely unsettling by focusing on the psychological horror of watching your community slowly transform. Kevin McCarthy's increasing frantic performance as Dr. Bennell perfectly captures the mounting paranoia as he realizes no one can be trusted. The pod duplication sequences, showing half-formed bodies emerging from giant seed pods, remains effectively creepy despite the 1950s special effects limitations. The film has been interpreted as everything from an anti-communist allegory to a warning about McCarthyism to a critique of suburban conformity, proving that great science fiction can work on multiple levels. Despite studio-mandated changes to make the ending more hopeful, the film's desperate warnings to "they're already here, you're next" has become one of the most iconic moments in sci-fi history. Number one, I've got The Day the Earth Stood Still. And before you start leaving your angry comments, I get it's not really a B movie, and you all hate that this version's in color. Now, can we get on with the show? So, when a flying saucer lands in Washington, D.C., the military surrounds it with tanks and weapons ready for war. And then, out steps Klaatu, a human-looking alien with a message of peace, and his companion Gort, a robot who can reduce tanks to puddles with just a glance. Klaatu's mission? He wants to warn humanity that our violent tendencies and newfound nuclear capabilities have the space community a little concerned. It's like if your homeowners association sent someone to tell you your lawn decorations, they're threatening the neighborhood, but with potentially planetary destruction at stake. Robert Weiss's sci-fi masterpiece, it transcends its B-movie contemporaries with its thoughtful approach and alien visitor concept. Michael Rennie's performance as Klaatu brings dignity and otherworldly calm to a role that could have been just another monster. The film's Cold War messaging still resonates today, suggesting that our own self-destructive tendencies, they're the real threat, not visitors from beyond. And Gort remains one of the most iconic robots in cinema history. His expressionless metal face somehow more intimidating than any detailed alien creature design you can come up with. It's the rare message movie that just never forgets to entertain, proving that science fiction can make you think while still delivering killer robots and flying saucers. These alien invasion B-movies shaped how we imagine extraterrestrial threats. Despite their often limited budgets, these films tapped into very real fears, like Cold War paranoia, conformity of the unknown, and of course, the terror of being turned into giant cotton candy cocoons by Klowns from outer space. Modern alien invasion films might have bigger budgets and better CGI, but they're building on the foundation these beautiful disasters established. And before you go, why don't you check out these awesome B-movie flicks that we already have on the channel? Because sometimes the most creative ideas come from the most limited resources. And keep watching the skies, folks.